If you want to implement an interstitial ad as this one, full screen, using Unity Ads, this video is for you because it is exactly what we are going to do. Let's start by explaining what is an interstitial ad. An interstitial ad is an ad in full screen, as a difference of the banner ad that we show in the last video. That is this one, shown small, just covering part of the screen. The interstitial ad is an ad that will be shown in full screen. So the user cannot skip it, well, can skip it after a few seconds. What I mean is that the user will be seeing the ad. It's not as the banner that is there. If you look at it, you see it, else you are playing and interacting with the game. The interstitial ad is going to break the flow of your game, will be showing you an ad, you will see it, and then you need to skip it or close it. So it's important that we put it in specific places that make sense in our game. For example, the user is playing and the game just finishes, he loses, you show an ad. That's something that will not break the normal flow of the game. But also we need to control how many times we show these ads, because it can be really annoying to the user and we don't want the user to uninstall the application or game because of this. So let's use it with common sense. Let's put it in specific placements and moments of your game where it makes sense. But you need to understand that also, as these ads are being shown in full screen, the users will see them. These ads are also paying you more. You will get more revenue from them than the banner ads. Okay, but also it's true that usually we will be showing less interstitial ads. So what we're going to do now that we know what is an interstitial ad, we are going to follow from zero, from scratch, the tutorial and the documentation of Unity to see the step-by-step you need to follow. So the first step will be to install the Unity SDK in your Unity project. I have created a new Unity project that is in here, where I'm going to implement everything from scratch. So one important thing to mention before starting with this tutorial, to let you know, is that Unity is changing their approach, their strategy in the ads, in the advertisement. Basically, they are focused now in the mediation instead of the typical and the legacy way of showing ads, only from Unity. So in this video, we're going to implement the advertisement legacy package, that is the old way of doing this, only using Unity to show ads from Unity. But as I was mentioning, now Unity is switching to a new way of doing things, that is the mediation. The mediation is when multiple ad networks, as Google, Unity, AppLovin, or others, are bidding to be the ones showing the ad when you request one. So let's imagine that in your application, when the game finishes, when the user finishes playing, you want to show an ad in full screen. You will request an ad in full screen, an interstitial, and the different networks are going to bid to get that spot and show their ad. So Google can be bidding $1 for each 1,000 impressions. Unity can be bidding 2, and AppLovin bidding 3. So the one bidding higher will get the spot. In this case, will be AppLovin showing the ad from their end to the user. So this mediation allows you to maximize the money, the benefits that you get from showing ads, and is what Unity is trying to do right now. So let's implement from our side just the legacy option. It's just using the Unity ads directly. It can still be used, no problem. The only thing is that will not be improved. We'll keep as this. So for this, we need to go to the project, we need to go to Window, Package Manager, and in here we need to find the advertisement legacy, that is the name of this package. Important, we need to move to the Unity registry to see all the different packages available in Unity, not in my project because it's new, has nothing. So advertisement legacy, we install, it will import everything that we need, even we'll ask now for confirmation on downloading some extra things to resolve dependencies and so on. We accept everything, and this will be the first step, basically. That is to configure everything that we need, the package in our project, to show ads. As you can see, once this finishes, we will be able to see in our project, if we go to the packages, the advertisement legacy with all the files that we need to show us. So let's wait for this to finish resolving the dependencies to ensure we don't have any issue. And we will move to the second step, that is to configure in our Unity Cloud account, in our dashboard. For this application, we are going to enable the ads, and we are going to create our unique game ID, and also we will create in the future some ad units for the banners, interstitials, etc. So the library is completed, all is good, and we can go to our dashboard. If you access to your Unity account, you go to the dashboard and you select the application or game, the project you are working on. In this case, advertisement Unity. You will have to enable in here the monetization. You can do it on the one side from the left. If you have this shortcut, you can go directly to Unity Ads Monetization, or if you don't see it in the dashboard, you go to project settings, you scroll until you see the monetization, and you can launch it. It will be the same, okay? Once we are here, we are going to enable ads. This button on the left, we see, we will use Unity Ads, not the mediation in this tutorial. We click next. Do you want to use ad settings from an existing project? As this is the first time that we are configuring Unity Ads, no. But if you already have one project configured with Unity Ads, you can copy the settings to not need to configure and replicate everything once again in your new project. So it's quite interesting to save some time. Let's say no, and then my app is not live yet. In the future, we will need to link it, okay, in the Unity. For now, we create the project, and this will be our IDs. Our game ID for Apple, for iOS, and our game ID for Android, okay? In this tutorial, we will configure everything for Android. So now we see the panel with all the revenue. We didn't start with this project, so it's at 0. And we can create from here the different ad units, the rewarded, interstitial, banner ads, whatever ads we want to show. And depending on the platform, we will target one or another, Android, iOS. By default, Unity is creating these 6 ad units, but I remember seeing in the documentation that it's better to use custom ones, to create new ones. So in my case, what I do is just I archive them, and I will create my own and new ad units. Like this. Okay, so now that we have seen all these, the last step will be to configure our specific ad unit for the interstitial ad. I will put ads interstitial, and I will do it for Android. The ad format is interstitial, and in the advanced settings we have just 2 options. One of them is to, when you are showing the ad, mute it by default. You can also switch it. I prefer to keep it muted so that it's not scaring the users. And also, after how many seconds, from 0 to 14, the user can skip this ad. They will be seeing the ad for 5 seconds in this case, and then they can skip it. So once we create it, we will see it in here for our game ID for Android, as in this tutorial we will do. This is the specific ID identifier of our interstitial ad. We also have in here the ad banner. That is something we created in the last video. So if it's interesting for you, you also want to implement that one, check the previous video, because in there we explain everything you need to know. So once we finish with that, SDK configured in the project, also everything that we need to configure in our cloud project in Unity platform is well configured. We can go back to the documentation, and we will need to follow these steps to initialize the SDK in Unity. So we need to start writing some code. In this tutorial, I will make it easy because we already did it in the previous one. So I will show you exactly what we used from the documentation, and we will go directly to the implementation of the interstitial ad. In this example, in this project that we created last video, we were showing a banner ad, as this one, an ad covering part of the screen, and we were able to hide or show the ad again whenever we wanted. So in here we will also include now the interstitial ad with another button. We created one script that is doing all these things, but what I want to show you is how we are doing the initialization. We use this one, the advertisements. We needed to use the different methods that we need, okay? And then from the documentation, to make it simpler, instead of creating a game that works fine for Unity, iOS, or for Android, that depending on the platform where you are running the game, it will use one code or another code. What I did is make it simple. I'm just using an Android game ID. I will build my application only for Android. And I am using the test mode equal to true. As you can see, my Android game, that is the one we can get in our dashboard in here, 607, 607. The test mode will be true as we are testing the application in the editor, and probably you may like to install it in your own device. Why we use test mode to true now? Because when you are developing the application, it's not needed to use real ads. This can even guide to problems with the ad networks. If the ad networks detect that you are using real ads to test in your own device and you are even clicking on them, so basically getting fake revenue, they are going to block your account. You are going to have problems due to, obviously, breaking their policies. So for now, we will keep it to true in this tutorial. Whenever you want to create a package, because everything is ready for production for real users, let's put in here false, so that when we initialize the SDK of Unity, it will show real ads. So those two parameters, we used them from the documentation. You can just copy paste all this code. I didn't put anything special. On awake, we are going to call the method to initialize the ads. Okay. And the method to initialize the ads, what it's going to do is basically, if the advertisement is not initialized yet and is supported, we're going to initialize our game ID in the test mode, and that's it. Okay. You can see this is in the documentation, nothing special. I just removed all these and I am using just the conditional to initialize it. Later, we need to include the listener, this, in our script, to be able to manage the different events that happen during the initialization, that basically are two. Or the initialization is completed or it fails, okay? They are in here, you can copy paste them, or complete or failed. What I did is, if the initialization is completed, we can start to request ads. So in the last video, what we did is call a new method that will request the banner and will do the corresponding actions. If you want to learn more about that, you can follow that tutorial. But for the initialization, it's just that. Include the library, the listener, you set up your game ID, test mode, you initialize the ads at the beginning, okay, calling the initialize method, and then you manage the events. On failed, just a message. When completed, we start requesting the ads. So once we know how we initialize this, we're going to go to the documentation and now skip. We are going to jump to this section where it's explaining everything for the interstitials. For the interstitials, we need to include two more listeners, okay, these ones, that basically will help us to manage different events when the ad is loaded or shown, okay, to know if we can request a new one. So we're going to go here, we're going to include them, okay, after the listener of the initialization. It's giving errors because you have not implemented yet these methods, ads loaded, ads failed to load, etc. We will do them later, so no worries about that. Let's see what variables we want to include. Obviously, we need the add unit identifier for our interstitial. So let's paste it in here, and instead of Android add unit, let's call it interstitial add unit ID. With the corresponding value, let's go back to our panel. The ID is ads minus interstitial, Okay, so we are going to put it in here. The specific game ID, the specific add unit ID. Okay, perfect. So this is so that Unity, when you request or an ad is loaded, knows exactly what is loaded and what can be shown, etc. Good. Specific code that I will not include. So what we want to do now is just load a new interstitial ad. For that, I will create a new method. As we did with the request banner, I will create a public void request interstitial, in this case, where I will put all the code I need to request a new one. Also, we need to remember to include it after the initialization is completed. Added to requesting a new banner, I'm going to request a new interstitial. And now let's start putting in here the code. We are going to load a new interstitial ad. We need to provide the ad unit ID in here. In this case, it's interstitial add unit ID. The same in here. We are loading this identifier, this ad. What else? We load it, then we can show it, obviously, but this will be a different method because in this case it's different from the banner. The banner, as soon as it's loaded, I want to show it. Usually it's the case. But for the interstitial, no. I want to have it loaded, prepared to show it as soon as I want. And whenever the user finishes the game, I will show it. But it's already loaded and prepared, ready for it. Okay, but we need to preload it beforehand, for sure. So whenever in this case, I will put a button and we click on it, we are going to show interstitial ad. Let's put it so that it's clear we are showing the interstitial ad in this case. We modified too the game IDs. What else? The different methods. When it's loaded, when fails to load, when fails to show, or other actions that are in here. Let's copy. Let's put them in our script at the end, removing this extra, and start modifying them. So basically, when the ad is loaded, okay, we can run extra code if we want. In this case, I'm not going to do it, but maybe you can create a Boolean variable that you can set up in here to true to know that the ad is loaded and ready to show. But in fact, there's no need to do that, because if you try to show the ad, the interstitial ad, if it's not loaded, will not be shown, and that's it. It will not cause an error in your game or crash. No, nothing at all. So we don't need to set up these extra controls, but in case you want, you can do it. Okay. Good. So when it's loaded, I will not do anything. When it fails to load, in here, yes, I will try to request a new one. I will request a new interstitial ad. In fact, is what is requesting, is suggesting here to do. You can attempt to try again. And when the ad cannot be shown again because of an error, the same. Just in case, I'm going to request a new interstitial, and that's it. When the show starts or the user clicks or completes, I don't want to do anything. In this case, it's just an interstitial. In the future video we will do for rewarded, yes, we will need to know when the show is completed. But in this case, no. Okay, so since we got it, we can save. An important thing is that, as you can see, in these events, we are getting information about a specific ad unit. Okay? When the ad is loaded, I can check in here which is the ad that has been loaded. So in case we have in here two interstitials, I don't know what is the reason, but well, it will happen, the conflict with the rewarded. We will need to check which is the ID. Is the ID of the interstitial? So the interstitial is ready to be shown, or is the rewarded what is ready to be shown and not the interstitial? But well, that's something we will manage in the next video, but I wanted to explain you. Well, this is the end of the documentation. So since we got it, I'm going to save. I will go back to the game. Let's see that we don't have any kind of error in here. In the console, nothing. So perfect, the listeners are not complaining anymore because we implemented the methods they want. And now let's create a new button. I will just clone the height one. I will call it inter for interstitial. The text will be inter. And let's put it somewhere here, like this. Okay. We will configure the corresponding method. What we want is to show the interstitial add. When we click on this button, we click save, and in theory it should be okay. Let's click play and let's test. Okay. As we are implementing both in parallel in this script, the banner is showing, I can hide and show. If I click enter, the interstitial is showing. You can see here in the logs everything. The initialization of the ads is completed. I am loading an interstitial, and now I am showing the interstitial. I can skip it, and something very important that we missed is when the visualization is completed, we need to request a new interstitial, request interstitial, so that we have one more ad ready for next time. So I show the interstitial and I do nothing. I don't have more interstitial to show. I need to request a new one. So this is something important. Let's try again. Now when I click in inter, it will show one. If I click again, it will show another, and we can do this infinite times. So I click enter, it's showing the ad, I close it. I click enter, it's showing again, I can skip it, and we can do this as many times as we need. Every time we show one, we start loading another one to be ready for next time. One important thing that is happening in here, let's fix it. If I click enter, also my banner ad is showing. We don't want to have this overlap. This is not okay according to the policies, and we can fix it quite easily. So if we go here, in the last video we created these two methods that we are running in the buttons, one to show, another one to hide. So what we want is, if we show the interstitial ad, first of all what we are going to do is hide the banner. We will hide it, we will show the interstitial, and once the visualization is completed, additionally to requesting a new interstitial, we're going to show the banner ad again. We will show it again, and as if nothing happened. So let's go back, let's test this, and with this we will finalize the video. So we click play. I will check that the banner is showing in here, correct. I click enter, and as you can see, it disappears. But when I close it, it's showing again. So yeah, now it's perfect. This is how you can implement an interstitial using Unity Ads. Hope you like it. And thanks a lot. I will see you in the next video to implement the rewarded ads.